welcome to the Boys of Tommen reread vlog. I started this about 3 months ago, no, way longer than that. So at some point last year, I restarted the Boys of Tommen and then quickly unrestarted because I felt I wasn't ready. And because we were anticipating a new release, I was just waiting as long as I could so that it would be as fresh as it could in my mind. But I've no clue when we're going to get a release. It is now April, so I'm just going ahead with my reread. I started my reread and I am on page 137 already. So we made quite a bit of a dent, and as you can see from all the tabs on the side, we are really going hard on this one. I love Johnny and Shannon. They will always have a very, very special place in my heart. But do you know what so far I'm noticing? Is that I don't like Johnny as much as I did when I first read it. And I think that's because I forgot how invested in rugby he was. Now, it still doesn't change anything. I still love him because I can see those little kernels of like the Johnny we know and love and the real, like, do you know, the Johnny that he is. So I can see that. So I'm like, fine, he's still there. But I'm not far into it. And it's just as good as I remember. I was afraid, and I think that's why I put it off for so long, of going into it, and I wouldn't love it as much as I did the first time. But like, even the joy I got just like reopening the book again and reading the chapters again, and I've never reread a series before, so this is like my first, and this is the most important one to me. And I'm hoping, because I already have a For Keeps tattoo, that if I'm going through it, I find more quotes or more things that I want tattoos of. I kind of have ideas, but I'm hoping as I go through the series I might find different ones. It's going to be full spoilers, so if you've not read The Boys of Tommen and you do not want to be spoiled, please do not watch this, because I will not be able to hold back my thoughts. I will not be able to hold back like crucial scenes that happen or things that I want to sit down and deep dive talk to you about that like I didn't notice my first time reading. So this is not the one if you have not read Boys of Tommen. Basically, you will get spoiled, and you've been warned. So I will come back to you when I've read more, but I am just so happy to be back in the world of Tommen again, and Cork, even, like, I just, yeah. Oh, I got to page 400 last night, so I'm over 50% through. You can see all my tabs along the side. Like, there aren't as many tabs as releasing 10 so far, but that could change towards the end, who knows. I've just gotten to the part where Joey and Shannon go to Johnny's house for breakfast, because Johnny left his phone in Joey's car the night before. And I got to, like, I saw the scene of get off my car, arsehole. You're stealing my centre. But I just kept reading up to page 400 last night. So I have 224 pages, I think it's 624. So I'm hoping to make a dent in it today. Maybe finish it, because I need to get this reread underway, because Chloe Walsh uploaded like loads of playlists and then decided to delete them all, and, well, not delete them but private them, so there is now nothing on her Spotify. So people are starting to speculate that we are on the cusp of a release date, and I am praying to God that it's coming soon, but that means this reread needs to speed up. So gonna try get some reading done now this afternoon, and I'll come back to you when I have more updates. And she will be loved. I love this book so much. I love them so much. I never thought that I'd love them any less, to be honest. We have a lot more tabbage on the side, and I have about 100 and something pages left. I'm on page 636, just starting chapter called Concealer. You guys on Instagram which way you wanted this video to go. Did you want it to be all in one video, more than one video? The options I gave were 2, 2 and 2, which would be just Johnny and Shannon, so binding and keeping 13, then saving and redeeming 6, and then releasing 10 and taming 7. Or taming 7 and releasing 10. I was thinking that way, or a video for each couple. Then the other one was just one full video all together. All options include spoilers, so if you were thinking you'd get away with no spoilers, that was not ever happening with the Boys of Tommen. So the consensus so far, with the last I checked it was for a video for each couple, but that could have changed. Yeah, no, a video for each couple is winning, and that has 12 votes. One full video has 7 votes, and then 2, 2 and 2 is like just behind with 9 votes. So I might just leave it run for the rest of it. No, I'm not going to leave it run for the rest of it. I'm going to decide. We're going to do a book for each couple the way that everyone said. But so far, I forgot how, like, macho Johnny thinks he is. And, like, it's so funny because, like, when I'm watching them interact as, like, teenagers, some of the stuff now looking back on it, I'm like, yeah, maybe they wouldn't say that or they wouldn't say this. But overall, it's held up the way I had it in my mind. It's held up really, really well. And I can't wait until, like, yes, we see the inner dialogue, like the softness inside Johnny's inner dialogue, but I can't wait to see him be softer to, like, everyone as a whole, because it starts with, like, he thaws a little bit when he starts having feelings for Shannon, but then I feel like he starts to get a bit more empathetic towards the other characters within the story. So I'm excited for that. Shannon, my heart breaks for Shannon, and the little snippets of Joey and Aoife, I'm loving seeing the snippets of Joey and Aoife. And, like, I read the scene, was it yesterday or the day before, of when, like, Aoife goes out and buys them all, like, buys groceries for the house, takes the boys out for the day, and lets Joey and Shannon have, like, a morning to themselves. And I've gotten to the miscarriage, she's lost the baby. Like, honestly, they had the same reaction that I had, which was relief, because, like, what would they have done with another kid? Like, they could barely function with the kids they have. Teddy, Marie, hate them. Like, I feel like we don't see much of Marie in the first book, or Teddy. I feel like they're more prominent, like, later into the story and into the next book. Like, they are spoken about, obviously, but actual scenes with them and their children. And I'm nervous for keeping 13, to be honest, because that's my favourite in the series, and I'm wondering will it hold up to still be the favourite, but I won't know that until I read them all again, I guess. So what I'm going to do is finish Binding 13 today, and hopefully either get into keeping 13 either this evening or tomorrow. I have finished Binding 13. I knew it was going to get me. I got so upset towards the end when it's like him or us. Oh my god. I feel like more happened in the first book the first time I read it, though, for some reason. I don't know why. But overall, I love Johnny and Shannon's story. I love. There's nothing really when I was going through it that I could see that I was like, oh, that's foreshadowing, or like, I can't believe that happened. Now, the one thing is, there was foreshadowing about them talking about Lizzie's mental health, because they were saying that, like, oh, Lizzie isn't turning up to school, or she might come if she can be arsed, kind of thing. And because I used see-through sticky notes for anything that I thought was, like, not theories, but that, like, oh, this is foreshadowing, maybe this is why they said that, and, like, particularly why they said that. And I'm just I love it so much. There was one thing I noticed, actually, about something Lizzie says in this book. They're talking about having sex with boys for the first time, and Lizzie says that she lost her virginity to Pierce on this day, whatever. But that's not the day she would have lost it to him if it was, either. So, like, does she still not know that time happened? Or
is she just lying? I don't know. But that's one thing I noticed, was that she spoke about losing her virginity to Pierce, but that's not when we remember it happening. But I'm all done. I can't believe it's done. The reread's done. But it's going to be really nice, because every time I do a reread, I can add new tabs. Like, I can, like, the colour scheme I picked now mightn't be the colour scheme I'd pick in a year. So, like, the next time I go back, I'd go in with different tabs and then re-tab it again. And, like, there's, like, I'm always going to find something different every time I read it, I feel. Because I did feel that, like, as I was going through it, I was like, I don't remember this scene hitting for me the way it does now, or anything like that. But I love Johnny and Shannon. I cannot wait to get into Keeping 13. I already have it next to me. Keeping 13 is my favourite in the series. I think we see a lot more of the quarter 10. We see a lot more of Johnny's, like, soft side towards not just Shannon but everyone else around him. We obviously see more of Marie and Teddy, and I just feel like it really, like, hurtles on the events that are going to happen. This book does. I'm terrified to go into this. As I said earlier, I'm going to keep Johnny and Shannon the same. I'm going to keep Shannon this, like, dark pinky kind of colour, and I'm going to keep Johnny as red. Just feel like it. Even though he should technically be blue, because dub boys are blue, but anyway. Yeah, so I'm going to get into Keeping 13 this evening, and I'll update you when I make any bit of a dent in it. Hello everyone! I have not actually started Keeping 13 yet, even though I said I would. I just opened it for the first time, and I forgot that the start of the chapter is him or us, so now I wanna die. And I just remembered this book is going to kill me. Oh no! This one holds kind of a special place in my heart, and it's my favourite one. I always rank it top, so I'm hoping that will stay the same. I have gotten further, but not, like, too much further, into Keeping 13. I'm onto page 310, and where we finished off, they're in Claire's bedroom. This is just after Darren shows up at the school and is like, you're coming with me, and they're all like, no, you're not going. There was one thing that I highlighted because I was like, it's so Irish. They're in Gibbsy's house, and he says, she says, boys, have a bit of respect. The Angelus is on. 6 o'clock. The Angelus would be on every day. You'd hear the dung, dung. I'd hear it in my nana's. If you were up in my nana's house, if you were up in your grandparents' house around that time of the day, you would have heard the Angelus going off on the TV because it went off before the 6 o'clock news. So yeah, that's where we are. We're this far into it. I have a lot of tabs thus far because Keeping 13 is my favourite. So far, loving it. I actually can't wait to get to Joey and Aoife's story, though. I don't know why. I'm just really buzzing for their books. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying my reread so far. I'm hoping to make a dent in it tonight. I'm hoping to finish the first two this week and then go into the other ones next week, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not rushing it, but I'm hoping by this time next week I'll be on to Saving 6. So let's go make a dent. Okay, so I've read The Fire, and again, heartbreaking as per. Yeah, we're not going to get too much time because I'll cry. But I think it's such an important part of the book but it's important not just for our Lynch siblings, but also for Johnny. It's very developing for him because it's such a traumatic event that he's had to deal with, as well as, like, supporting the Lynch siblings. And that, as much as the Lynch siblings hated their dad and also not hated their mother but resented her, they still did not feel she deserved to die. They still felt she deserved a chance. And, like, I just think it's so heartbreaking because when you're when you're in turmoil for so long and in a family of addiction and domestic violence, it must just be so hard to compartmentalize that, especially for kids, because their brains aren't fully developed. Parents are the people that are supposed to show you the way relationships are supposed to go. You model the way that you deal with relationships off your parents. So like all these kids could have very, very, very much went a very different way, and they didn't. They chose to go the other way in spite of the way their parents were, like breaking the generational trauma. And I just love it. I just love them. I just got to the scene where he starts singing "Here Comes the Sun," and yeah, we're not going to talk about it, but I feel bad for Johnny here. I just feel bad for everyone. I'm on page 638 of, I don't know why I did that, because I know what happens. 800 and something. Oh, that's an extra chapter, sorry. 802. So yeah, I'm gonna make a dent in it there now, and hopefully we finish today. roughly 100 pages left of Keeping 13. So I can't remember where I was where we left off. Wait now. It was about the Here Comes the Sun. So I'm just gonna go through the next couple of chapters and tell you about the stuff that I like annotated, and like because there was particular things during these last couple of scenes that I thought were like really important. So on page 642 about Johnny feeling responsible, he was like telling his dad how responsible he feels, and like that guilt of like he could have saved her and he tried to do it, and I feel like that's just such a hard thing for a 17-year-old to be dealing with, that they could have saved their girlfriend's mum, and like the care and love he has for the kids. And then on page 643, and this always takes me the fuck out whenever I read this book, this is when they get to the Kavanagh house, not the Kavanagh house, sorry, they get to the Lynch house after the fire has happened, and Joey's there being like, start crying, that, you know, I left them, I didn't get them out, they're not out because of me. And the first thing he says is my mother, fuck, Shannon, Tig. He goes to his mother first, and I made a note of he still loved her through it all. And then on the next page he says another sentence, and I'm sure the first sentence again he says is like, the first name he says is my mother, and then follows it with his siblings' names. And I just think it shows that like he just wanted her love no matter what. He just wanted his mum to love him, and she never did. Whew. Joey's so hard. Such a hard one. Especially in this book, because you're only seeing the sad parts. And then the next page on 646, these chapters just like took me out. It's when they get Joey back to the house and he's with Adele, and Adele tells him to come here, and she's like, I'm here, shush, I'm right here for you. And that's the only person she lets touch him. So yeah, there's that. Then on the next, this scene between Joey and Darren, I thought was so important. You did more for her than anyone else. Joey clenched his eyes shut. I didn't do enough. Darren, you did. Darren corrected, voice hoarse and raspy. You were the reason they survived as long as they did. Not me or anyone else. Just you. Tears trickled down his cheeks. No, I should have been there. You, he repeated. You couldn't have done any more. I left them. I did that to them. Me, I walked away. You didn't leave anyone. Darren whispered, smoothing his head over his brother's head. Smoothing his hand over his brother's head, sorry. You just took time out. Fuck. I just thought, look, thank God he finally gave him the recognition he deserved. And then, what else did I have highlighted? Oh, this was very funny because this is very Irish. They're complimenting Feely's farmer tan, and then, you're damn straight we do. Someone said, you're seriously believe putting out a holy statue in the field brings good weather. You're damn straight we do, city boy. It's 100% effective. Same as when my nanny lights a candle for me before my exams. It's bulletproof. Anytime before big exams in the family, our grandmother would always light us a candle. Oh, there's a quote where Shannon's talking about Joey, and she calls him as unpredictable as an Irish summer, and I just felt that. I really, really felt that. Sorry, Hughie says, I swear he's stuck in his seven-year-old mind. You're probably right, Feely agreed. He hasn't changed much since we made our communion. And I just have an arrow out for it, just saying, stunted from the trauma. I do think Gibbsy is stunted, because children tend to stunt at ages of very, very serious emotional trauma to them. And that was obviously a serious emotional trauma for Gibbsy, so like them saying that is very real. And then I have a funny thing here. Oh no, this was about Johnny, and I was like, relate. You couldn't sleep because you couldn't turn that brain of yours off. You're still the exact same now. Me. Can't sleep because I can't shut this brain off. And then I don't think there was anything more. Oh, just a cute thing between them being like, you feel like home, you are home. And he went to his trials, he got the call up. And the last chapter I read was when they come back to the Kavanagh house after the funeral. And they're all out in the grass together. And like, everyone's talking about like, oh, we shouldn't be so morbid, you know, like considering where we've just came from. And Shannon's like, no, this is my normal. And I want this to be my normal. And it's like her and Johnny at the end of the chapter being like, this is what our life is like. This is what the normal is. So like, this is why she wants them to all act like everything's the same. So I literally have exactly 100 pages left, and I'm going to bang this out before I go to sleep. It's 10 to 11. Yeah, I think I'm going to bang this out before I go to sleep. Or will I? Who knows? I'll keep you updated. I did not finish Keeping 13 last night. I had to stop. I had 100 pages left and I was like, I don't want to rush it. So I'll give you my notes of what I read last night, I guess. Here, Hughie on page 730, on Johnny's birthday, on his 18th birthday, Hughie snaps at Lizzie and says, "You never mean it," Hughie muttered, stalking over to Katie, who was holding a towel out for him. But we're all getting really tired of hearing that excuse, Liz. And then, like, Shannon's the only one defending her in this instant, and they're like, Shannon's like, she didn't mean it, like, guys, stop, like, leave her alone. And Hughie snaps and says, "She meant it, Shannon." And I'm thinking, is that more to do with, like, Pierce than to do with the situation at hand? And then on the next page, we see Feely coming to her defense, and it says, "I said come here now. Now you and I are going to go for a walk and let them all cool off, and we're going to come back when everyone here remembers that they're not perfect angels." I would love to know what they spoke about on that walk, personally. And this quote took me out. We all have our secrets, Shannon. We're all a little fractured. Great, thanks. Love that for me. And then here about Gibbsy. "I know him, Shannon. This is how he copes. Humour is his thing." And then this is about Lizzie when Shannon's like, "Please, Johnny, like, just give her a fucking break. Like, she's had a hard time." And she says, "Thanks. I know you find Lizzie hard work, and she is, but there's so much more to her than meets the eye. She's all prickles, but there's a good person under there. She's a lot like Joey in ways. She makes it hard for people to love her, but it's a defense mechanism. Trust me, I know." Heartbreaking. And Shannon hit it right on, like, hit the nail on the head. And then on the end of the chapter was they woke up hungover, obviously after Johnny's 18th birthday. So I'm going to read the rest of it now and finish it. And then this will be the end of this part, and we'll be going on to Saving and Redeeming 6. Just super exciting. But yeah, they're my thoughts so far. There's a lot. I'll go through at the very end. I'll go through all my tabs, why I have certain things tabbed, like why they stuck out to me, why was it important, because I have quite a lot, so I'll go through them with you. But yeah, I'm going to go finish.
I have finished Binding and Keeping 13. So I thought we would go through my thoughts or anything, like, obviously, overall, I still feel the same about them. They're still 5 stars. I still love them more than life itself. But there's certain things I noticed, like little things that, like, might be important for later, or little things that were important in the moment to the characters, and then, like, my overall thoughts. So we'll start with Binding 13. So on page 44, when Shannon is in and out of consciousness, I noticed it the first time, I think, but that she tries to tell him that it's her dad. And it's like, look how early she trusts him and tries to tell him. Then, the one thing that I noticed, which was huge in Binding 13, I thought, was on page 128. Basically, Lizzie talks about losing her virginity in a car with Pierce, but that's not how it happened. So I'm wondering, does she not really remember how she lost her virginity? Or is she lying about it to the girls to save kind of face? Because they don't know the depth of, like, her and Hughie's relationship. And then we have on page 46, Lizzie goes to the library instead of going to PE. And I'm like, who's she going to the library to? Then in Keeping 13, I had more in Keeping 13 than I had in Binding 13. So on page 9, there's foreshadowing because Teddy threatens to burn them all down inside the house. Then on page 39, Gibbsy gives out to Claire for not telling anyone about Shannon. And that's something that I struggled with because I was like, he's there giving out to her being like, what my question, he literally says, my question to you is, Claire, is why didn't you tell anyone? And it's like, then when she does tell someone later on in Taming 7 about Gibbsy, he tells her he doesn't want anything to do with her. And it's like, but you wanted her to tell everyone about Shannon. So it's like, is it a bit hypocritical, Gibbsy? Maybe. Then, page 48, I think I screenshotted this, or did I? About the justice system. Because our justice system is shite, and it says it's shite. In the book, it says that, like, he'll get clean, he'll go in front of a judge, the judge will give him a slap on the wrist, and then he'll be back home again. And that's kind of what the way it was back then. Then, on page 643, oh my fucking god, heartbreaking. So when Johnny and his dad show up at the house and Joey's outside and he's like crying and crying for them and being like, I left them. He says ma'am before everyone else. He says my ma'am, Shannon, Tig. He says his ma'am first, always. And it's like, no matter what, he still loved her through it all. Then on page 648, there's such an important scene between Darren and Joey where when Joey comes to the house, Darren basically is like, you did everything you could, you did more than I could, you were better than me, kind of thing. And like, to give Joey the validation he finally deserves. On page 665, I thought this was really important. They make a reference to Gibbsy being younger, like, overall, and they say that he has not been the same he's been the same since the communion. He hasn't changed much since then. And I'm like, my social work mind is like, he was stunted at that age because children typically stunt at age of like serious emotional trauma, and particularly grief, because it's such a hard thing to understand, is particularly for kids, because it's like the person was there and now they're not there anymore. Like, it's hard for them to comprehend them not being there. So it makes perfect sense that Gibbsy would stunt at that age and not really grow up from that age, and then the dyslexia on top of it doesn't help. And then on page 730, after, this is when they're on the camping trip, so it's after Lizzie gets really angry at Gibbsy and pushes him into the water, and then obviously he nearly drowned. It's a whole thing. And Huey is so angry at her, but like irrationally angry at her compared to everyone else. And I'm like, did something happen around this time? Because obviously we don't have that in Releasing 10, so I'm wondering, did something happen like in the in-between that we don't know about? And then on page 731, Feely and Lizzie go on a walk because everyone else is like giving out, except Feely. He's like, whenever they remember that they're not perfect angels and all this stuff, then we'll come back. But I wonder what they spoke about on the walk. And then in the epilogue, when it's before the Oxygen Music Festival, Lizzie and Gibbsy go at it, and as they always do, giving out to each other. But Huey storms out and leaves Katie there. He doesn't say anything to anyone. He just leaves. He says he's sick of it and he's done. So he leaves. But it's like, did he find out about Gibbsy or something? Or did he find out something that makes him really, really angry? And is that why he stormed out? I don't know. But my thoughts overall, I am obviously as obsessed as the last time. Obsessed. They're both still 5 stars. There was different scenes that hit me a lot harder than they did before, which I wasn't prepared for. There was one in particular. It was this scene when Joey gets arrested for assaulting someone in Tommen Cottage, and he says, you know, I sat in that cell for hours thinking, how did this happen to me? How did I end up the way I am, all fucked up in the head? But then I called you. Whew, he added, lips wobbling as he locked eyes on Mam. I called you to come help me, and you didn't pick up. A lone tear trickled down his cheek, and then I knew. I said to myself, that's why. That's how I turned out like this, because you broke me. And then Marie says, take that back, that's not true. And he says, you fucked me up in the head worse than he ever did. He hurt me, but you wrecked me. He used his fists, but you got on my head. You broke my head. The sound of you crying and begging me to help you is all I can hear. Every time I close my eyes, you're there in my head, crying for me, begging, screaming, save me, Joey, save me. But I couldn't save you, Mam. I didn't save you because you didn't want me to. You wanted him to. So yeah, that broke my fucking heart. I empathise a lot more with Joey this time around. I think it's because obviously going into it the last time I hadn't read a story, so I didn't really know the background, but now knowing the background and seeing the like little things going on, and like you notice that everyone kind of knows that he is addicted to something or that he is using drugs to like cope, but people don't know how bad it is. No one knows that like he's using cocaine, he's using heroin, he's trying every drug under the sun. Like Shannon even says at one point, she's like, oh, maybe ecstasy, maybe this, I don't know. And it's like, she doesn't even know what's going on with her brother. And obviously she's a 15-year-old child, she's not going to know, but it just shows how very little people in his life actually knew what was going on. And you can see that from the dialogue within the characters. They know that there's something wrong with him, but they don't know to the extent of how bad it is. Keeping 13 is just as good as I remember the nostalgia once again. Not that I would love a book on Marie and Teddy's story, like where did their trauma come from, because obviously he got Marie pregnant at 14, so a lot of trauma will come from that. But I would love to know pre-kids. Pre-kids, what were they like? Because obviously with Darren, he dotes on, not dotes on him, but he loves Darren more than he loves the rest of them. So it's like, how did that change? With like, why was there such a stark change when it came to Joey? Is basically what I would love to know. And I forgot how little of Aoife we see in the books. I forgot we only see her in like little tiny snippets, because obviously it's not her book. But I thought she was in it more for some reason. But overall, reading it again was one of the best experiences ever. I love Johnny and Shannon. They will always hold a special place in my heart. I'm going to do a whole re-ranking of books, my couples, my favourite friendships, after I've read them all again. But of course, Finding and Keeping 13 were 5 stars, and there was never any doubt, lads. There was never any doubt that I was going to love them as much as I did the first time. But I really, really enjoyed reading them again, and I cannot wait to get into Saving and Redeeming 6. So stay tuned for that one, because that'll be coming soon. And let me know if you've read the Boys of Tommen, any of your theories in the comments below, anything that like sticked out to you on the reread that you didn't notice on your like original read. And I'll talk to you guys in the next one.